Y'all, there is one thing standing between us and our weekend, and it is this Friday assignment. So let's get cracking, shall we? Yesterday we talked about how on your DNA, it's not that beautiful, but just pretend it is. You have different small sections called the genes. I represented them here with different colors. Your gene codes for a specific protein, and the job or function of your protein is to determine a very specific trait. What's a trait? A trait is that specific characteristic of you as a person. So your trait can be skin color, hair color, eye color, whatever. Your gene codes for a specific protein which determines your trait. Now there are obviously different versions of these genes because we see it walking around. There are different versions of each trait. Not everybody is identical. We call the different version of each gene or trait an allele. There's that tricky word, allele. So if we zoom in on a chromosome, you're going to have two different versions. Now, on your actual chromosome, you're not going to see an actual letter. We just represent each version with a letter to make it a little bit easier on us. So if one of these chromosomes here has the allele for brown hair, we can say capital A. We can give it whatever letter we want, really. Down here, this gene has the allele or version that's going to give blonde hair. So we'll give it a different letter. So we'll say a lowercase a. Now, we talked about earlier with sexual reproduction, you are going to get one copy of a chromosome from one parent, so your father, and a second copy from your mother, because those are the two people who made you, so you get one of each. So you're going to get a combination of alleles, or those upper or lowercase letters. The combination that you have in your body, that is your genotype. Remember, it looks like genotype. So this is what is actually on your genes. For example, if these were your two parents and that's the version of the genes that you got, your genotype would be uppercase A, lowercase a. Pretty easy. Now, whatever your genotype is, that is going to determine what we actually see, what is expressed or represented. We call that your phenotype. So for example, all these different people have different genotypes that's going to give them different hair types. So for example, this guy down here, he kind of looks like Dr. Keys. His genotype has short, curly, black hair. This person over here has a different genotype that's going to give her long, curly, brown hair. So her phenotype is curly brown hair. His phenotype is super curly, black hair. This person over here, not the banging, has a phenotype of straight orange or red hair. Okay, so your genotype directly determines your phenotype. Lastly, we talked about inherited versus acquired traits. Your inherited traits means that it's coded in your DNA. If something is inherited, that just means it's passed down from your parents. So you are born with these types of traits. This is going to be your height, your eye color, dimples, blood type. And one thing I want to say, especially talking about something like height, obviously when you are born, you are not born 6'2". That would be kind of terrifying. You're born with a determined height. So although you're not born 6'2" or whatever height you're going to end up being, it is in your genes that you are eventually going to reach that height, okay? The other type of trait is the acquired trait. Acquired just means to gain or to get. So this is something that you gain throughout your life. This is either a learned behavior or skill or something that you've actually changed personally or have a personal experience with. So you're not born with these types of traits. This is like riding a bike or being able to shoot a basketball, or if you dye or change your hair in any way, you're not born with that hair. It's something that you have acquired. So since these are acquired, they are not passed down to your future offspring because they are not coded into your DNA. Last but not least, many of the phenotypes we see, they're usually a result of both genetic, so your inherited, or environmental or acquired factors. So if you are really good at basketball, sure, you were born with a certain athletic build, perhaps. You're a certain height that lets you reach the basket better, but it's the environmental or acquired traits, such as practicing, or maybe you have, I don't know, you spend a lot of time practicing on the court, that is an acquired factor. So it's a combination of both that make you a good basketball player. That's just one good example.